Finally, we disagree on something, huh? I understand your argument. The whole process of transitioning is not necessarily safe in general, now is it? And the long-term complications that come with medically transitioning even after you're an adult. Like, I have to sporadically take my testosterone blocker because if I take the prescribed dose, I get edema, which is that fluid buildup at the bottom of your feet, and I can't put on some shoes, which is terrible. However, there's other ways to outsource your medication and not too expensive. If your medical transition really meant a lot to you, you would do the extra work it would require to essentially acquiring the hormones or whatever medication that you needed. When it comes to surgeries and having the government just pay for that, that just seems very... Granted, I did get my boobs paid for by the government. This was in 2019. I didn't even know that was even available at the time, so I was very fortunate, very blessed at that point, sure. However, I had B cups going into surgery. I already had tits, but I just was motivated to getting bigger ones because I wanted my ex-boyfriend to... Anyways, it was a weird motivation, to be honest. But for that being said, for the sake of convenience, sure, it makes it inconvenient for hormone replacement therapy to not be readily available from your primary care provider and for him to not be able to prescribe it as such. In my opinion, I feel like there's loopholes that you should figure out. I don't want to talk about them right now, but to avoid and bypass a lot of these new rulings, essentially. One hint I can possibly give you is to potentially get your gender dysphoria diagnosis removed and to have some sort of other way, backdoor way, sort of to be able to get prescribed estrogen as a method or means of psychological treatment, if you will. However, at the same time, a lot of people aren't resourceful enough or even think deeply enough to figure that out. More or less, though, transitioning still is a very unsafe thing to do to your body. There are a lot of health complications that fester 10 years later down the road, or 15, 20. But statistically, it's about 70% of trans people or people that are transitioning detransition by about 5 years. So they have a drop-off or a die-off after about 5 years that they just stop their hormone replacement therapy if they're medically transitioning and or don't even associate themselves with being trans, or they used to be trans and stuff like that. I have the statistics to prove it if you really need the damn statistics. Meaning that they don't really see the detriment or they don't become that chemically dependent on big pharma like I have understood myself to have now become dependent on. Having been detransitioned for about 1.5 years, just getting back on my hormones about 2 months ago, I recognized and realized the detriment that now I have a chemical dependence on these synthetic hormones and stuff like that. Does that make me